They were lied to, they were manipulated, and they were insulted. In 2015, 3 people came forward to the Huffington Post to blow the whistle on MTV's iconic show Pimp My Ride, and their stories painted a much bleaker picture of what was meant to be a fun and uplifting TV show.
Hi, I'm Justin, I'm 19, and this is My Ride.
Justin Dearinger appeared on Season 6. As you may know, Pimp My Ride was a show where they took people's poorly maintained cars and revitalized them into a car that they could be proud of and show off. And as you may also know, people on the show were first given a surprise visit at their home from the show's host, Exhibit. But this wasn't the case. MTV had rented houses for potential contestants, and while they stayed there, they were either going to be visited by a man holding a $100 Pep Boys gift certificate or Exhibit. So at least the visit from Exhibit was a genuine surprise. When Justin got to meet Exhibit, he noticed a funny yet familiar smell. He said he did smell of weed, a lot of it. Someone did at least. I don't know who did, but I'm pretty sure it was, Justin realized that the program were trying to make the car look much worse for the cameras before they started working on it. They added aircraft remover to remove some of the paint and made the bumper look like it was falling off. Another hallmark of the show was when the person got a first glimpse of their new refurbished car. Typically, the person would be ecstatic and would be jumping around to an insane degree.
This is your brand new ride.
This, as many people suspected at the time, was staged, or at least when their initial response wasn't good enough, which, after reviewing many YouTube prank videos and people that faked those reactions, you could probably see where MTV was coming from. Apparently, Justin was one of many people who needed several takes to film the reaction. He said, "I guess I didn't show enough enthusiasm." The director specifically told him to be more energetic and jump around and scream. And Justin could be forgiven for not being too pleased with what they did to his car, as they didn't read his instructions. He told them that he hated the color red, and realized that most of his interior was now in that color. But can beggars really be choosers? The show's aim was to not only fix and refurbish the car, but to make it an extension of their personality. For Justin, they added a pop-up champagne device and a drive-in theater. The only problem with these is that after the show, they had to take them off. According to Justin, they actually take out a lot of the stuff that they showed on TV. In his case, the pop-up champagne contraption and the drive-in theater. He told the Huffington Post that the theater was deemed a safety issue and the champagne thing was seen as promoting drinking and driving. Larry Hochberg, co-executive producer of the show, responded to this criticism and said, "Sometimes we did things for safety reasons that the kids on the show interpreted as us taking away some items." After the show, Justin joined a car club and ended up putting $20,000 worth of further work into the car. He was often pulled over by the police because of his unusual looking car, but when he mentioned that it was on Pimp My Ride, they were mostly cool with it. 5 years after it appeared on the show, his car burst into flames. Larry Hochberg has responded to the criticism that some of the cars were not properly fixed, saying, "Some of the cars were so old and rusted that they would have mechanical issues no matter how much work you put into them. And the production team and the car shops worked their butts off to get parts for these cars." This defense, for some, wasn't satisfactory, as most mechanics would let you know if the car was beyond repair or whether it was dangerous to continue driving it. But it was 5 years later. Despite this outcome, he had a surprisingly positive spin on the sequence of events. Because he was on Pimp My Ride, he was famous, and this gave him some much-needed confidence. He said, "Before then I was just a kid, I was shy, I was really shy. And then it's sad to say, but being on the show gave me some confidence, and it made me the person I am today. I'm the most outgoing person you ever meet. And most importantly of all," Justin said, "a lot of girls noticed me more." While this experience was pretty weird, things were even stranger for the next contestant. Jake Glazer appeared on Season 4 of the show. His grandmother smoked in the car, and according to Jake, they threw in an extra few dozen cigarette butts in the car to make her just look like a totally disgusting person.
First thing I noticed is the cigarette butts. You smoke?
No, Grandma did. I didn't even bother picking them up.
Jake's experience with Exhibit also confirmed the idea that he was under some sort of influence. He said, "I don't remember why he brought it up, but we were just kind of talking about what we were doing that weekend, and he said he's going to go down to hell to kill the devil so he can make some Satan skin boots." The more sinister aspect of the show was that one of the staff told him that breaking up with his girlfriend would be good for the show, and this would generate a good storyline as to why he needs a new, pimped-up car. The producer said, basically, either get rid of her or have her not be a part of the program. When it came to actually working on the car, Jake said they pretty much just went with what I told them. So when he saw the car, his response was, "This is good." However, he was told by the director that he needed to go apeshit. According to Jake, I remember this very clearly. Big Dane, very big dude. He puts his arm around my shoulder, kind of walks me around the shop for 10 minutes, and he's like, "Listen, we put a lot of work into this. We expect you to be a little more effing enthusiastic." But just like Justin, Jake did enjoy the fame that came with driving his new car, and his younger siblings were excited to travel with him when he brought them to school with it. And he cleverly sold the car for $18,000, which is incredible given that he originally paid $500 for it. It was sold to MTX, an audio company whose product was in the car. MTX really only wanted their sound system back and didn't want it falling into the hands of their competitors. But perhaps the most negative experience on the show was Seth Martino. Seth appeared in season 6 and said, "I was very excited and naive, so they could have told me unicorns were making me breakfast and I wouldn't have questioned it." The show always gave the impression that the car was fixed within a day or two. The reality is that Seth's car was gone for several months, so he needed to rent a car. A really small, shady company off the freeway by LAX, because they were the only ones willing to rent to me because of my age. MTV paid for this car rent for a couple of months, but towards the end he had to pay for this out of his own pocket. He added, "It sucked having that rental car because they wouldn't take payments over the phone, so once a month I had to drive all the way from West Covina to LAX just for them to swipe my card." When he saw what they had done to the car, it had a robotic arm which made it look incredibly futuristic. However, there was more to it, or arguably less to it, than meets the eye. Seth said this hand gave the appearance that it was controlled by commands that were entered into a laptop. In reality, it was just a robotic arm with a bunch of wires hanging out of it. LED lights were placed on the seats, but this proved to cause more harm than good, Seth saying, "They would get really hot if left on, so I couldn't drive with them on. They took the gullwing doors off because the pistons used to lift them kept them from putting seatbelts in the back, which was highly dangerous. And despite its extravagant new look, they didn't actually bother fixing what was wrong with it. There wasn't much done under the hood in regards to the actual mechanics of the vehicle. For the most part, it needed a lot of work done to make it a functioning regular driver, which they did not do. And having all these fancy new accessories only ended up weighing down the car. They added a lot of extra weight but didn't adjust the suspension to compensate, so I felt like I was in a boat. And every time I hit a bump, the car would bottom out and the tires would scrape inside the wheel well. But putting the stress of renting a car aside, the show also pretty much insulted and made fun of him too. He confessed, "I know I'm fat, but they went the extra mile to make me look extra fat by telling the world that I kept candy all over my seat and floor just in case I got hungry." He added, "I did not have any candy all over my car. That was completely fabricated for the story. I sat there and watched them dump out 2 bags of generic candy. And in order to tailor his interests, they decided to install a cotton candy machine inside his truck." Seth smelled a rat when he saw this, saying, "I know it's kind of mean, but I think they just wanted to put a cotton candy machine in a car and use the fat guy as the opportunity to do it." However, Seth was simply too young and naive to do anything about it, saying, "At the time, I didn't question anything because it was an exciting experience and I kind of just went with the flow." The only plus side was that Seth also felt like a celebrity when people recognized the car. However, it cost him $1,700 to fix the engine. Ultimately, Seth had a pretty disappointing experience. However, he has realized it's actually now quite a funny experience that he can look back and laugh upon, saying, "The whole situation was definitely not what I hoped for, and there were times I wanted to give it all back because of how frustrating it was. But now I look back and laugh. I have this really cool story that only a handful of people can really say they experienced. That makes it all worth it." Make sure to subscribe for more.